So this is an install of an outdoor camera that has been performed using the siding removal method. Essentially what the method involves is any house which uses, oh, I just slipped on that mud. Anyways, any house which involves using this plastic siding here, or sort of plastic vinyl, I think vinyl's the word. Isn't it? No, it's just big ones. Anyways, this sort of plastic vinyl siding, familiar with most new houses. Looking around, the house beside me uses it, the house down there uses it, every house I see on this street uses it. Virtually any house built after like 1990 will use a vinyl siding. It's you know, very flexible stuff and quite easy to remove. The siding removal method involves taking the camera off taking the siding off of the house, stuffing the wire behind that, then poking through to an outlet. It's very versatile. In the example I've got here, I've installed an outdoor camera up here, but the plug for it is actually on the side of the house, way over here. A completely different wall than where the camera was installed. And the wire just goes straight behind the outlet there. You'll see that there's no hidden wires behind where the camera's at. You know, very, very, very flexible with my options. I could mount a camera at the front of the house, take off the siding, run the wire behind the siding, and I could even plug it in way at the back of the house if I needed to, which I have done from experience. It takes a bit of time, but any house with siding, if you're willing to remove the siding, you can mount the camera virtually anywhere on the siding and have the wire 100% hidden. So with this particular wire run, we've got the plug inside here at the side of the garage wall. The wire essentially pokes straight through the wall there, comes out at the other side of the siding over here. Right around here, I believe, is where the siding comes out. And then I basically just follow that siding to the end of the house, go up, hide the wire behind the siding soffit stuff here. I don't really know what to call it, but if I look behind here, you can actually see a bit of the wire right back in there. The wire goes all the way to the top, wraps around underneath the, let me get on the ladder here to get a better sight. We don't really have a sturdy driveway, so I got a lot of wiggle room on this ladder. Don't try this at home, first years, experienced techs. I kind of trust you with your own judgment. But coming up here, I bring it to the top there and then wrap the siding around the little top portion right where my fingertip is at, and come down again, coming down this little siding piece, and then I get the camera again in there. Let's see if I can get a closer look at that. As much as this unsteady ground allows. This will be fun. Alright. Like I said, first year techs, do not try this at home. I only got 2 legs on the ground here. Let's see, I'm going to put one hand in my pocket. This will make for a hilarious blooper if I do end up falling. Putting my iPad right back in here. We might be able to see some of the siding there. I actually don't know if we can because my iPad is not within my sight. Sorry, I cannot see the screen of my iPad right there. And then the wire, you'll notice that there's sort of a tiny little lip right over here that I can just press into. So the wire's right there. I'm actually touching it with my fingertips, and it wraps around behind all that. So I'm going to get down from this very, very wobbly ladder and demonstrate some siding removal. So let's hop over here into the shade. So this right here is a siding removal tool. It's only about $15 at Rona. This particular one's called the Side Swiper 2. There's a few different, brands of it, but the idea is pretty simple. It's essentially just a hook that you can stuff underneath the wall here and get into the siding. So let me see if I can just quickly check where my siding begins. I think it's this whole plate right here. So siding usually comes in sort of doubles. You'll see that it looks like right here this is 2 panes of siding, but this pane right here is actually 1 piece. You'll notice it's kind of hard to tell with the camera angle, but this is all 1 fluid piece here. There's no separation. Meanwhile, every other piece there is a bit of separation. So I'm going to face the camera upwards. Maybe this can get a bit of a crack. But like this entire siding's been popped off, and I don't even know why. I never touched that during the initial install. So I'm just going to pop that back in. This will be a great way to show you how to get siding inside beforehand. So just sort of push down on it. Oh boy, I might... I don't think I can do this with one hand. I'm not even showing what needs to be shown. So I'm going to try to pop siding off. See if I can place my iPad down anywhere. Maybe on that thing on the neighbor's house. And then see if I can get a good image to show me putting it back in. But for taking it off, the piece I was going for was this one right here. I need to keep a better eye on my camera. So I'm going to take the tool, and you just sort of want to stuff it inside the crevice of the siding. There we go. So I got that locked into there, and then I sort of tilt it upwards. You want to pull straight towards yourself at sort of a perpendicular. So you'll notice I now got the siding tool at a 90 degree more or less. So I'm just going to pull that, and you'll see it just sort of popped out there. The whole thing's coming out, which means that the nail's coming with it, so I'm going to try to yank downward. Sometimes it takes a few tries. Let me just... Anyways, that's sort of the basic idea of it. Normally, I use two hands. I'm limited to one because I'm using my iPad, so let's see if I can place this down in a place where I can still be recorded, and then I'll just try to yell at the camera. Maybe that will do. Maybe that will do. I am very confident my iPad is going to drop at some point. It is. I am literally leaning it on this little curvy part right here, and then against these two right there. I got a rubber case, and the friction of the rubber is literally the only thing keeping it adhered. But like, I am right on that curvature. I probably should have gone with it the first time, because I actually did have it in a position where it was not slipping, but now all it wants to do is slip. Maybe I can, just stuff it in there. Yes, yes, that is good enough for me. All right. So I'm taking my left hand, I'm sort of pushing against the siding below it, because it's going to want to come with it. Each piece of siding is stuck to the wall with a rather big nail. And when you're pulling on the siding, it sort of pulls on both pieces just because of the way it hooks. I'll see if I can find a diagram of it in a bit. But there's sort of a hook that comes downward, and then a hook that comes upward, and they hook like this. The siding removal tool is getting into that area where that hook is, and just trying to separate that hook. So, you usually need a bit of force. Sometimes it's easier to find a point of separation, like this is right here. Is this the piece I need? No, it's this one. There we go. Sometimes certain areas are tighter than others, so if you're struggling with one spot, just move down the line. Oh, there we go. So the way I started getting it there was I took the siding removal tool, sort of twisted it, and moved it up like a lever. The bottom of it here is still catching on. So I'm going to go down below. And I can see the piece coming out. I'm going to take one of my mini screwdrivers, anything just to sort of get into the wedge there. Actually, no, I'm going to use my hands. And just keep moving along that. There we go. Perfect. And now it's being removed. So this siding was slightly tougher than your average. But now that that's coming off, you'll see that it's just sort of, I can get in there and I can actually reach into the siding. So behind here is my wire. You'll see the wire. I'm going to try to get some visual on it. Oh, I can bring the iPad closer. I got the siding popped off. There's no need to leave it standing. So if I come right down here, you can see the siding's been removed. And if I look inside, I can see a beautiful wire that's just going right to the point where the plug is. Let's see if I can get visual. And then right there is where I go into the wall and meet the plug at the other side. So now I'm going to work on getting it back into place. First, I'll see if I can get a good view. So this is sort of that curvature I was talking about. We got a little lip thing right here. You'll see the lip. It's just like a hook. And it hooks right into this hook right down here. So what I'm going to be doing is pulling this lip back over and getting it inside that hook. When I'm grabbing the siding removal tool, I'm trying to get into that lip and then separate it so it comes out. You'll see right there I'm sort of pulling on that lip, and the idea is just to pull on that lip and separate it from where it's hooking in there. So now let's get this back in. Imagine that camera angle is about the best I'm going to get. So you can use the siding removal tool to get it back on. Some people do, some people don't. I'm going to try it without it first. Essentially, I just want to push down on it. You can hear it sort of clicking into place. And I just do that the whole way through. You get a very satisfying crack noise when it locks in. There we go. So this is locked in going all the way to the right. Now right here I'm not actually able to lock it in. This probably would have been an easier point to start, but you wouldn't have learned as much. The reason it being is this little thing right here is blocking it. Now, that was something that was opened when I first arrived. So that's, you know, sort of what you'd call like existing damage. It's not really damage, it's just not hooking in right here because this is blocking it from hooking in. And then we got this piece of siding right up here that's loose. And I don't even know why this one's loose, but I'm going to see if I can get it in too. Because you shouldn't have loose siding like that. It's just not proper. I'm not able to get quite the same force up here as I was getting down here. Just because of the angle of it, my arms aren't strong when I raise them up like this. I'm stronger when I go down like this because I can put my weight into it. So I'm going to try to use my siding removal tool. I'm going to take this, just pull it back a bit so that I can get the loop sort of inside, apply a lot of pressure, and then sort of tilt it out, and then I'm just going to beat on it. There we go. You can feel a very satisfying click as I push this in. There we go, that's all aligned here. Right here it's not quite aligned in yet. Oh, there we go, that might be why it never lined in. This last portion right here, I'm actually not sure if I'll be able to quite get in there without taking the drain pipe off. But it's a lot better than it was. Yeah, that last portion I won't be able to get off without taking that. Okay, sorry, get back in there without taking the whole drain pipe off. I'll see if I can do that after I'm done this video, but no need to waste time on that. But yeah, definitely a lot easier to get in than it is to get it out. If it's a warm day, don't be afraid to be rough with it. It's pretty flexible stuff. It is very, very possible to crack it because it is a hard plastic, but you know, I think I've only done that twice. It's not too common, and it's also very easy for a customer to replace. It's not like destroying a door frame with the DW20 where you have to replace the whole frame. If a piece of siding goes, you just need to replace the one piece of siding, and the siding's pretty well the same throughout the entire house. Some customers even carry spares. You'll see right here there's a little crack, not crack but like line, and this right here just separates one point of siding to another point of siding, and you know, another one right up there, another one right down there. So if you did break siding, all that the customer needs to do is just remove the piece of siding that's broken and put a new one of the same color right in that same spot. I think the measurements are pretty universal between siding. Yeah, I think that fairly well concludes it. Oh, fishing the wire. So I'm not going to do a live demonstration of this. If I get a chance later on, I might take another video of it, but it's very, very straightforward to do. So from here, oh geez, I need to try to wipe my feet. There's a bit of mud. Don't want to get that all through the customer's very clean garage. Okay, I think that should do. I've got the outlet right here. I'm just going to unplug it for a bit and place the iPad down so I can, oh, cool. Place the iPad down so I can take the outlet off as normal and sort of show what I've done. I believe I drilled from the top of the outlet just because of the way things measured out. You'll want to try to measure and find out where the other side of the outlet is. The best thing in my experience to measure from is a window, because windows are very reliable and usually fairly close to an outlet that you're working on. I do not, however, I did have to do it with this one. I do not like to measure from the side of a house, just because at the side of a house, you need to take into account the insulation on the side of the house here. So if I'm measuring the distance of that outlet there, I'd have to go to that right there and then measure, you know, how far it is from there. That being said, left to right measurements aren't as big of a deal. The most important thing is the ground to the top measurement. So you want to figure out how high off the siding right over here is off the ground. To do that, I typically just take my glow rod. I measure the distance from the ground of the glow rod to the outlet, and then put my thumb there and mark that distance from the outside. So out here, that lined up with roughly this piece of siding right here, and then that's the piece of siding you want to take off. And just go a fairly generous distance so that when you drill through the house, you'll come out. Oh, I almost hit my face. You'll come out at the same place. So from here, it's fairly straightforward. You'll see right there, I drilled my hole on the bottom of the outlet. I just drilled straight through, pretty well at perfect 90 degrees. So I came out at the siding on the other side. I had already popped up the siding first, because you don't want to drill through the siding. That'll create a hole in the siding, which is, you know, a little bit damaging. So I went to the point where I just drilled straight through. You'll feel yourself break through the wood on the outside of the house. Once you break through the wood, stop. If you keep going, you're gonna go through the siding, and that's a bad thing. Then after that, if you're using a 3/8 bit, you can take your glow rod with chain, feed it through the same hole, and then just reach up into the siding wherever you drill through. Grab that chain with your physical hand, which should be just peeking out a tiny bit because you're poking your glow rod right through the house, and then pull the chain all the way out. Tie your wire onto the chain, and then pull it back through, and you got your fish. Now what I actually use is something a bit different. I like it because it feels a bit cleaner. I use this drill bit right here. Oh cool, it's still got the bit on it. I think that might actually be the same wire from my initial fish. But this is a 1/4 inch drill bit. If you're going to intend to use your glow rod, I would recommend using a 3/8 drill bit. The cool thing about this 1/4 inch drill bit though, is it has a hole right at the tip of it. I don't believe the initial toolkits come with this. I recall buying this out of my own pocket. But you'll see there's a tiny little hole there where I tied some wire on, and then I just pulled it straight through. Once you got that wire pulled through, silicone the hole, and then you're good to go. I guess I should review the other side of the camera there. It's pretty straightforward as well. I just took the wire off a bit so you could see the little hole right there. So I just tie a piece of wire onto that, pull it straight through. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Alrighty. So I'll put that outlet back on, or cover plate back on in a bit here. I'm just going to talk about the other side of the camera where I came up and around from for just a tiny bit. So right up here at the other side, I'll get back onto my wibbly wobbly ladder. I am way too confident in my own balancing skills for my own good. This was pretty straightforward. We already got this angle at a this camera at a pretty perfect angle for the customer, so I don't really want to take it off the wall there. But what I did right here is I just drilled a tiny little hole behind the camera. 3/4 inch is fine. I personally use a 5/8 bit. And then I fished the wire right from, you can sort of see it right in there if the camera allows for the brightness. But I fished the wire right from that hole to the hole I made right here. It's just a very small fish. The way I did it was I took a spare piece of wire, one of the individual 18 gauge strands, not the whole wire, but you know, just like a little tiny red wire. I poked the wire right into here, fed it along the inside till it just poked out right behind there. Physically grabbed it with my hands. It might be easier to use wire strippers or needle nose pliers. I have very delicate lady hands, so I was able to squeeze in there and just grab it. And then I tied my main wire on to that tiny piece of wire I pulled through. Grabbed the wire from here, and then just yanked it through. And that was pretty easy. However, you could pop the siding up and just feed it through if you wanted to as well. It's just, for a wire run the length of my hand, I'm not too worried about it. Now, if I wanted to mount the camera somewhere like over here, then in that case I just take the entire siding off and pop the wire onto there, the same way I did down at my initial wire run around the corner there. Yeah. So, as I said before, very versatile. If you're able to get the wire to the top, you can usually hide it underneath the soffit as well. You'll see that this soffit here that I can just squeeze my hand into, there's a nice little lip right behind there that gets the wire very nicely. I don't know if you'll be able to see the lip with the angle there, but the wire will just hide very nicely behind that lip and you won't see it anywhere along the top. So that makes it very easy to traverse across a long distance. And then when you get to a corner like this, switch it from hiding behind that lip to just going behind there. You can even see a bit of my wire that's hiding right there. But, you know, looking at it from a regular angle, completely invisible. All right, that's how you do it. I'm gonna put that cover plate back on, say bye to the customer, and send this video off to you guys. Have fun.